Engine 1 from Car 1. Car 1's on scene at Subin Command. Give me a C.A.N report.
Hello, everybody. This is Mike Goldstein, stickers of the C.A.N report. Got another fantastic guest that is joining us today. My man, Rusty Ricker, out of Massachusetts. He is also the president of the New England Fools, and I'm very happy to have him on today. Rusty is, I think you said 30-some years in the fire service. So he's a wealth of knowledge. What's that?
I said, I'm in my 36th, yes.
36. Wow, man. That's awesome. So we're going to be talking about the New England Fools. We're going to talk about the Northeastern Fire Summit and what the Fools is and what they bring for others and the benefits of being a Fool member. Rusty Ricker, welcome to the C.A.N report, my friend.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Absolutely. Rusty, why don't you fill us in a bit about your background?
So I've been a fireman since 1990. I started the first of the year in 1990 in my hometown as a call fireman. Did that for 13 years before I went career, private EMS in some of the nicer places in Massachusetts, Northeastern Merrimack Valley, Massachusetts had to offer. I went career in one place, left that place after 8.5 years, and I landed where I am now in 2011, just north of Boston in the metro area, in the top end of the metro area. So, yeah.
Wow. So you've seen a lot, done a lot. We'll start right off the bat. How long have you been a member of the Fools?
Been a member of the Fools since, I think, officially 2000, 99, 2000. The Fools was, now you see, we talked earlier a little bit, you said you have a younger audience. So your younger audience might not remember dial-up internet or the AOL CDs that used to get at the post office and everywhere else. Some of them might, some of them might not. But back in those days, just cruising around the internet, it found this great little site called Fools International. And it was back long before podcasts or anything like social media. The social media of the day literally was the guest book of the website. And you go in and you chit-chat back and forth with people from all around the country, different fools from here and there. And back then, I was a small-town call fireman, man. I was nobody from nowhere. Hell, I still am. Nobody from nowhere. And it was so cool to be able to interact with these guys that were out there doing it, if you will, if you want to get into the backdraft. And as time wore on through the Fools, these guys became some of my best and closest friends, which is awesome. But that's, so with the Fools, initially, there was really no membership per se. You were just kind of, you were a member. So at one point you could send away, you sent $5 to somebody in Florida, one of the founders, I forget who at the time, and you'd get a card, a laminated card with your name and your department, and it's, your Fool's ID, and it proclaimed that your favorite beverage was Frosty Brewed. And from there, the Fools was growing. Now, like I said, that was late 90s, 2000. As the fire service progressed and guys went here and there to different conferences, mostly FDIC and Indy, the Fools themselves evolved a little bit, and it evolved into kind of what it is today, as it was in its infantile stages. And up here in New England, there were a few guys that had been to FDIC and a few guys that had found that website and lived vicariously through the guest book like myself and were members. So we started talking again, going back to the early days of the internet. We were talking on AOL instant messaging. And we talked about forming a chapter and maybe and blah, 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 blah. And one thing turned to another. And in 2003, we formed the chapter. Actually, late 2002, we formed the chapter, kicking it off the first of the year in 2003. So, and from there, from the original 6 guys that signed the cards to become, you have to have charter members for the chapter. You have to have so many people that are interested. So myself and 5 others, we are now over 500 strong from all 6 New England states and the Canadian Maritimes.
Wow. Yeah, because that's right, because the New England Fools is now encompassing Canada as well, correct?
Well, not all of Canada.
Not all
just
of
the
Canada.
Maritimes.
Okay.
Mostly New Brunswick, and I think we might have 1 member from Newfoundland.
Wow. That's impressive.
Or Nova Scotia. I'm sorry, yeah.
And obviously the Fool stands for the Fraternal Order of Leather Society.
Leatherhead Society, yes.
Leatherhead Society.
Silly name, great organization.
Now, who were the six, or I should say, because you're the six, so who was the five other members, the originals?
Some of them aren't around anymore. A couple of the guys aren't in the fire service. A couple of the guys have dropped out of the chapter. But the cool thing is, so one of the guys is still in the chapter. He's a life member. He's retired out of Cambridge. His son's a very active member, which is cool because we're now in the second generation, much like two of my sons are heavily involved as well. My cousin Jeff, who's still one of our principals, he's a deputy chief down in Sharon, Mass. He's one of our instructors, one of our just pillars of our chapter. Dave Florin, Buddha. I don't know if you know him. He's been all around southern New Hampshire. He was one of the original six, and a couple of other guys. Like I said, some of them moved on out of the fire service, and a couple have retired. So we do still have myself, Jeff, and Buddha that are still active in the chapter that started it. But
That's great.
Sippy out of Manchester, Andy Byron, he was already a Fools member, so he folded into our chapter. That's how we became, Northeastern Mass and New Hampshire.
Gotcha.
And there were a couple of guys that were in Maine, a couple of Portland guys that had been to FDIC that were early members of the chapter because they were already Fools members, and guys from dribs and drabs from here and there. And there were other chapters already in the area. There were was one chapter in Vermont and two chapters in Mass down on the Cape that had been formed. Small chapters, very, very, like we're regional. These were very, very local chapters that started. Since we started, we have incorporated the members of 11 other chapters.
Wow. So why is that? Why is it regional? Because people are asking about that because, especially when you go down south, there's definitely smaller chapters, right? And each city or county has their own organization or charter. New England Fools is almost all encompassing. It is all encompassing of New England. Yeah. So why is it so massive as opposed to other places?
It's how we ended up. Seriously, it's how we ended up. And initially, there wasn't a Maine chapter, there wasn't a New Hampshire chapter, and there wasn't a Northeastern Mass chapter. So those were our three. That was our area at first. Then, like I said, there were a couple of chapters down in the Cape that were small. There was a Metro Boston chapter. There was a Central Mass Fools popped up. Southern New England Fools popped up. A couple of chapters in Vermont that came and went, and a bunch of other chapters throughout Mass that popped up and came and went. Western Mass Fools, and they just didn't have the engagement that we're lucky to have. So we've taken in all of their chapters. Most recently, 2 years ago, we took in the guys from the Fools of the Atlantic up in Canada, and just before that, we had taken in the members of the Charter Oak Fools in Connecticut. Okay. So there is no real. I couldn't tell you why. There's no aha moment or this is why. It's just we've been there. We've been that constant, consistent that everybody's able to turn to, and we're able to be there for everybody.
Now, what is the benefit of being a Fools member? How do you go about being a Fools member, and what's the benefit of being a Fools member?
Much like American Express, membership has its privileges, right? Through the years, we've run a couple of exclusive classes just for our members as a way to say thank you. We don't do it often because we find with our classes, we get as many non-members as we do members. And it's just to deny somebody that education bit, it runs completely against what we're about. So benefits of being a member is you save money on any classes. There are some exclusives that we offer, but you save money, for your $35 dues a year, which hasn't changed since 2004. It's a $25 to $30 per class savings. So if you take two classes with us over the years, you've already saved your money, or I guess made your money back, saved your money, whatever. So it's worth it. You have the opportunity to interact with, in my opinion, some of the best guys in the fire service, hands down, whether it's the New England Fire Service or beyond, if some of our instructors are coming from beyond. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. The Fools is everything that's good about the fire service. The Fools is the fire service without the bullshit.
Yeah.
If I can say that word.
Oh, you can. You're
good. We as an organization, not just our chapter, but the Fools themselves are everything that's good about the fire service. And it's a refreshing, you just came back from Atlanta. You know what I'm talking about. It's refreshing. It's regenerative. It's reinvigorating. It's a battery recharge when you're around guys that want to be there for all the right reasons. They're in training because they want to train. They're hanging with the brothers and the sisters. They're hanging with the brothers because they want to hang with the brothers, and they're doing what they're doing because they want to be there. Right. It's not mandatory training at work. It's not something that the captain told you have to do. It's not something you're doing to get a certificate. It's not a box you're checking to train. You're there because you want to be there, and everybody wants to be there, and everybody appreciates that they're there and is there for all the right reasons. It's tough to quantify until you've actually been there. And I realize it sounds like a salesman. I'm trying to come to our classes. It's the best there is. No shit.
Well, it's something you're passionate about.
The best there is.
Yeah.
And sometimes
it's passion.
It is. And you know what? It's sometimes the classes the classes are great. Don't get me wrong, but it's the conversations around coffee. And if it's a cold morning, the bum drum that's going to keep everybody warm. It's those connections that are made. It's those interpersonal relationships that are formed. You know, we have guys in our chapter. We have probies. We've had state fire marshals. We have fire chiefs. We have brand new guys. We have big city guys. We have small town guys. We're non-denominational. We're ecumenical. We're non-judgmental. If you wear leather, that's great because it's in the name. But if you don't, you don't have to. Everybody makes fun of me. My burn helmet is Tupperware. You're the president of the fools. So what? Comfortable. I can wear it all day. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, you don't want to burn up your leather and light fire, though.
Well, there's that too. But, it's just, we don't care where you come from. And that's the best part of the fools. We don't care where you come from. And you're not going to catch shit from any of us, any of our instructors, or any fellow students because you come from, nowhere New Hampshire or nowhere Vermont, and you're training next to a guy from Boston or Providence or Portland or Manchester or anything like that. It's just, it doesn't matter. And that's what, when we get together, that's what I like the most about it, because it really doesn't matter.
It doesn't, yeah.
Like I said, but the relationships that are formed from that are next level. It's not something you can get going to a state academy. It's not something you can get going to a department training. It's not something you can get by going to Fire One or something like that. It's something you have to, the fire service is a big, bright, beautiful world. Get out there and see it.
Absolutely.
Get out there and see what's going on. And by all means, come see it at our stuff.
Absolutely. You've hit it right on the head. Going to conferences, whether it's fools related or not, it's a great networking tool. It's great to be able to get out of your zone zip codes and meet new people. Even if it's in New England, you're still meeting people you've never met before. You're meeting instructors you've never met before. Actually, just learning new ways, but it's a still learning about your own area, your own region, because it's still New England. So if you're even doing trainings in New England, you're still learning about basement fires, attic fires, or something that's going to be usually a generalized topic in our area. So it's really helpful to see new ways that you can literally bring it right next door and see if that works for you. And it's just great to be able to meet new people in our local area, because you guys go all over the place. It's not just Massachusetts. We have trainings in New Hampshire and Connecticut and Maine, and it's all over the place. And you just need a tank of gas and it'll get you there to a New England Fools training.
Exactly. And we're less than a couple hours drive from anywhere in New England. And that's kind of what we like about doing what we do, is we're not tied to one place. You're not always going to one place. You're not always going to the same thing. Time is, oh my God, I'm going to Concord to see the Fools again. Whoop-de-doo. No, you're going to, we have planned this year where I've been talking to one of the chiefs up in Vermont. We have 2 acquired structures we're going to be doing burns in the fall.
Nice.
Which will be incredible. We go to Maine. We go to York County Chiefs in southern Maine every year. We're going to Connecticut. We're going back to Connecticut. Well, we didn't go do it last year because of the fires down there. But we're going to go to Connecticut to train down there. We've done stuff in Mass. I mean, last April, we were in Groton, Mass, in a bigger commercial building that we're able to train in, which was incredible. And again, we had guys from all over, from all walks of life, not just that central Mass area. They were from all over the place.
Now, there's the International Fools, and I know there's an event that they do yearly for all Fools members. Have you been to that? I imagine you have.
You see, funny, the first convention I ever went to was the one we hosted in 2009.
Okay.
It was the only convention I went to for a long time. And, 4 years ago now, we started going to convention. There's been a handful of us that have gone. We've gone to Milwaukee, Minneapolis. Hell did we go last year? Milwaukee, Minneapolis, and Baton Rouge last year. And this year we're going down to Palm Beach, Florida.
Nice.
In June. If you're a Fools member, I highly recommend you go to convention. Again, the networking from a chapter perspective, the networking with the guys that are in other chapters, you get to see guys that are in small chapters, big chapters, medium chapters, share experiences, share ideas, see how you're doing it, see how they're doing it. It's funny, I just had a conversation yesterday with guys from one of the chapters up in Canada who are hosting their first lecture series event. And this guy reached out, he goes, I hear all the time about hospitality. How do you do things? Why are people always talking about hospitality when they come to stuff of yours? Like, all right, this is what we do. We do this, we do this, we do this, we do that. He goes, awesome, we can do all that. That's easy. Exactly, that's easy. It should be no-brainer stuff. But unfortunately, I've heard from a lot of instructors that have come in to a lot of teaching that we do things a lot different than most other places do.
And what do you think is different?
I don't know. We pay for everything. We reimburse travel specifically for like our lecture events with the upcoming Northeastern Fire Summit. I'll speak to that because that's the biggest one that we do.
Sure.
But we reimburse your travel. We pay for your lodging. We pay for your meals. We pay for your drinks. You shouldn't have to open your wallet while you're there unless you want to, unless you got to buy your wife a knick-knack to bring home, or unless you bring her, and then you definitely have to open your wallet because she's with you. But we make sure that the last few years we've always given a gift. The last two, we've kind of upped our game a little bit beyond T-shirts and challenge coins. Last year we did Taylor's Tins helmet fronts personalized for all, I think, 18 instructors that we had speaking for us. And this year we went with something else from Taylor's Tins, but I'm not going to ruin the surprise for the guys that are speaking for us. But nice little things like that. And a lot of the stuff that we've always done with the chapter, I've done in my head is like the golden rule. I want to treat people how I'd like to be treated if I'm going to something. And, pricing wise, I won't charge for a class more than my wife would let me pay to go to a class, if that makes sense, There are guys out there that are charging $400, $500, $600 for a weekend class. That's not, we're firemen, man. Come on. Yeah. That's not practical. It's not polite. It's being greedy, really. But
I love it.
We don't charge more. We try to do the right thing. One of the Fools' mantras is do the right thing. We try to live by that. We try to run the chapter by that. And, 22 years later, I think we've done a pretty good job of managing to do that through the years.
That's great. I love it. You're absolutely right. I mean, it does get expensive, being a student of the craft. It can be pricey trying to go to a lot of conferences. And there's some good ones that, like you talked about, like it's not just about the money, it's about the content, and it's about the participation. And that really pays dividends. You're going to get a good event when they don't care about the money. They just care about people coming and being educated and networking. And honestly, I'll touch again on the Bearers of the Oath that I was just at. He didn't care about money. Shane Bentley didn't care. He made that abundantly clear. I want to provide good education. I want people to get this training and this knowledge, and it's not about the money for them. And that's where you really get that good content, that the instructors are there because they want to be there. It's not because they're getting paid. I think you definitely get a different quality of instructor and tutelage when the instructors are there because they want to be there, and they don't care about a speaking fee or instructor fee. They just want to be there to help spread the knowledge and give something back to the fire service. That's hospitality. You providing them that makes them want to come back and makes them feel welcomed, and you're going to get good content delivered by them.
You treat somebody right, they're going to treat you right. They're going to treat your students right. And one of the things that often comes up at the end of a weekend is, I've never been treated this well at a training. That's good. I'm glad. Mm-hmm. We're not a state academy. We're not here to yell and scream at you. And anybody that does act like that as an instructor at a New England Fools training, that's the last time they're going to teach for us, because we don't put up with that.
How do you
not
vet
that
some of your
I
instructors?
don't think it's ever happened, but it's just not something we're going to put up with. We're here to make sure that you learn, that you leave better than you came, and that you're able to take what you learned and take it back to your firehouse and teach it to the guys and girls on your shift and in your department, in your company, whatever. And if I'm yelling and screaming at you, or if somebody's yelling and screaming at me, I'll tell you right now, I go, shut off. That's it. I don't listen to a word you just said because you're treating me like a petulant child, and I am not. So we treat people the way they're meant to be treated. And one of the things that we always start a weekend out with is, all right, what's the level of the students? We don't know. We don't know half of them. We're blessed. We get a lot of guys that are repeat offenders and come back. And so we know some of the names, but that's about half. So we always have to, we're never afraid to ratchet a class up or ratchet a class down.
Mm-hmm.
Years ago, a few years ago, we did a class, supposed to be a basic rapid intervention class we did for a bunch of the live-in students up at SMCC in Southern Maine. And what started out was going to be a basic RIT class, so saving yourself class, turned into an SCBA conference. The first day turned into an SCBA conference because there were so many new people that weren't really as comfortable in their air packs as they could have been. So we took it, we turned it around. I mean, we had guys, we showed them what their equipment was capable of, and they left that weekend. Saturday, we did SCBA confidence. Sunday, we did a little saving yourself. They left not only confident in their equipment, but in their skills, being able to use it and being able to get themselves out of trouble if they get themselves into trouble.
That's great. I love that you were able to cater it to, you saw a need on the fly and that you could change it to benefit the students instead of just sticking with the curriculum that you already agreed upon.
Yeah, because they looked at us and gone, we don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's just not worth it. It's just not worth it.
Yeah.
Because that in turn frustrates the students. It frustrates the instructors, and it doesn't, you don't achieve the objective. Right. You're pounding your head against the wall. So for us to be able to do that, and it's funny, we say it every time, what's the level of the students? We don't know. Let's see. And you can do it with different stations, different skill set, different skills evolutions. You can see how they are. Say you're doing, I use forcible entry. If you've got somebody that's really never used a set of irons before, if you're in a small group, we're working through the skills sessions over the weekend. You can take the people that are really good at it and ramp their time on the door or on the tools, ramp it up to their level of experience. And if you get somebody that's new to it, same with saws, ladders, everything. I mean, anything and everything we do, we can temper it to the level of the student fairly easily.
Now, how do you vet some of your instructors? Because you use a lot of local. And so how do you select the cadre to perform or to invite to your classes?
People ask this all the time. I get emails, guys, I want to become an instructor for the New England Fools. Dude, I don't know. I don't know how I got half the guys teaching with us. It's guys that have come in as students and really have hit it off on a personal level with us. Maybe they're state instructors, maybe they're, instructors wherever, but it's guys that we all work very well together and we mesh very well together. And, after they've attended a couple of weekends, you're like, hey, what are you doing next time? I need a guy. Can you be that guy? And that's generally how most of our instructor cadre has come about.
Nice.
It's just guys that have ended up there. There's really if there's a formula to it, I couldn't tell you what that is.
Well, I think the formula is actually just that, like you said, is that networking and watching how they work with others. Because if you've never worked with someone and you bring them onto your team and they're not getting along with everybody else because they got a big head, they're not going to really meld that well with what you're trying to present. And now you just made that mistake and invited them to teach a class, and the next one they're gone.
That's the best way. Unless they're wearing a jacket that has their department name on the back of it, most of the guys, you're not going to know where they work.
Yeah.
Whether it's small town next door or big city down the road. Pretty cool story, and I'll put Joe in the spotlight a little bit. The first time Joe Minahan taught with us was York County Chiefs. And at the time, Joe was wearing his dad's helmet on the job. He was wearing it. So Joe had his family with him that weekend. He had to leave like halfway through the day on Sunday he lives south of Boston. He had to get where he needed to go, corral the kids and go. So he left, and we made a point to tell the students. It was a lot of younger firefighters from that central Maine area, that central southern Maine area. in York County, does the name Steve Minahan mean anything to you? Most of them said no. I said, all right, you've got homework now. And we kind of explained Steve's story a little bit and Joe's background a little bit. And, that helmet that he was wearing was his dad's helmet. And they all went, wow. And, at lunchtime, everybody's on the phones trying to figure it out. And they came back and they're like, holy crap. Like, yeah, we didn't know that. No, you wouldn't know that because that's the kind of guy he is.
Sure.
And, his family history in the Boston Fire Department goes back to the 1870s. Direct lineage.
Yeah.
And he's just, if you've ever had the pleasure of meeting Joe, he's just Joe. Like I said, he's probably going to smack me next time he sees me when he sees this, but you'd never know it. And that's the kind of attitude that we like and we like to have with our guys, with our instructors, is you'd never know the rich history that some of them have.
That's just called being humble.
Exactly.
Right? That's
humility isn't something that a lot of people have anymore.
No, humility takes years and years, honestly. And I preach that a lot because I got hit with the humility stick many years ago, and it can either make you or break you. When you get older, when you start getting up in your, even in your 40s, if you've never been humbled or you've never experienced humility, it can be pretty soul crushing if you don't know how to take it. So I think those would make some really great instructors. You get the loudmouth instructors, or you get the ones who they're just there for the mission. They're there to breed brotherhood, and you could tell the ones who've been really humbled in life.
It's just the ones that are good people all around.
Yeah.
And those are the kind of ones that we like to try and attract.
Yep.
And for the most part, we do a really good job of, not for the most part, those are the guys that we bring in. Those are the guys that when we have an event, those are the guys that are there with us. And anybody that's ever been to any of our classes can attest to that, hands down.
So you said you have sons in the fire service too.
Yes. 2 out of 3 of my sons. Yep.
How long have they been in the fire service?
Yep. How long have they? My middle son was an Air Force fireman. He went in the Air Force 10 years ago. He's got less than a year on in the Seacoast. And my youngest, like I said, he went through the SMCC program in Southern Maine, worked in Southern Maine for a little bit. Now he's on the Seacoast as well.
That's awesome.
8 years and 10 years-ish for them, all told.
A family tradition, because you're a third gen as well.
And like I said, my oldest son's a nurse. I always said to the kids, I said, stay in school, get a real job. At least one of them listened.
Nice. So we'll jump into it. So the Northeastern Fire Summit is coming up in March, starting March 15th.
Yep.
So how did it all start?
So this was a little bit of a snub of the nose to some people that were doing some things that were less than honorable in the fire training world back in the early 2010s. Got talking with some friends. I said, screw it. We'll come to New England. We'll host a weekend. It was a Friday and a Saturday, Friday night, Saturday day. That was that, quick hit kind of conference thing. We did it at the academy in the Fire Academy in New Hampshire. And it was well attended. And it stemmed from, like I said, some people in the fire training world that weren't doing the right thing. And we brought 3 companies in that were very well known and very well known for doing the right things, that were friends of ours as well. We brought on-scene training, we brought traditions training, and PL Vulcan in, representatives from all 3 of those companies. At the time, they were the 3, and they still are, the three of the biggest ones out there, 3 of the most established training companies out there. And we had Mike Lombardo from Buffalo was our keynote Friday night. And we had a great weekend. And the tagline for the weekend was brotherhood is more than just a word. And that kicked off our March speaking events. I mean, we've done it February, March. We've done it over the winter speaking event. We always did a spring training hands-on, and we've always generally done something in the fall. We started doing York County Chiefs back in 2013, I think, and that's the end of September. So we have things that we do every year, we try to do every year. But the summit has grown from that Friday evening, 4 speakers, 3 speakers on Saturday, to we moved from New Hampshire, went to Maine, we went back to New Hampshire, didn't do well at all the last time we were in New Hampshire doing it. So we said we'd never go back there. Down in Mass, and it did and Mass. So we went back to Maine, and we found the location that we're at now, I think in 2018. The Village by the Sea in Wells. The event space it's Village by the Sea is on Route 1. The event space is up towards Route 1, and everybody stays in the rooms that are in the back of the property. You never have to leave the property if you don't want to. We sold it out the last 2 years. We'd love to sell it out again this year. We sell it out at about $250, $260 is sold out. Tried each year to get it better and do it different, expand it. We like the space that we're in at the Village by the Sea. It's very convenient. They treat us very well. We treat them very well. So to move to a different venue really isn't an option right now. So what we've done, the first year we just did Friday and Saturday. Then we started doing half-day Sunday. And you do a half-day Sunday and everybody still has travel time Sunday afternoon to say their goodbyes, give their hugs, and hit the road. Last year we started to expand it a little bit more in that same space that we have, but to get more out of the conference itself, we did a couple of pre-conference speakers on Friday prior to the keynote Friday night. And this year we're doing the same thing. We're starting at noontime. We have 4 speakers prior to the keynote Friday night. So you're getting really 2 real full days of training.
Yeah.
In that weekend, out of that weekend. I think we have 17 speakers coming in each. So Friday, you have the opportunity to hear all 5 that are speaking on Friday. Saturday, we split the day into a tactical track and a leadership track. So there's two rooms. There's upstairs and a downstairs room in the event space. The leadership track is just that. It's 4 speakers on leadership, completely separate from the other. The tactical track is just what it is. It's 4 different tactical topics, more fireman stuff than chief and officer stuff. And you eat your meals separately during the day. At night, the bar opens up. We have a speaker coming in Saturday night. You do dinner and drinks, then the speaker Saturday night. This year, we've expanded it a little bit more. We're going to have late night. The bar's going to stay open a little bit later. We have a hospitality suite to go to after that. So like I said, there's no need for anybody to leave the property if they don't want to.
That's great.
Everything you could want, food, drink, brotherhood, camaraderie is all right there on the property.
That's
and
excellent.
then Sunday, we have 2 speakers. Well, 2 presentations, 3 speakers on Sunday. One of them being 2 of the founding fools, speaking on the history of the fools and the motivation behind the fools. And that should be really good. I'm really looking forward to that from Bart Simpson and Walt Lewis are the two of the founding fools that are speaking on Sunday for us.
That's exciting. I can't wait to hear it. Now, who's your keynote speaker?
Keynote's Paul Combs. And I don't know if you know Paul. Paul is the artist extraordinaire from GEMS and fire engineering. And believe it or not, he can draw really good, and he's a fireman.
I got his
great hair.
Picture right there.
He actually designed our logo.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. I love Paul, what he does.
Oh, he's great guy. I've had the pleasure of teaching with him a few times. He's a gentleman, absolute gentleman. He's been snowed out twice trying to come out here to us.
Oh,
He just got snowed in. He flies out of a little regional airport in Ohio. So we're crossing our fingers that this year we'll get him out.
I hope so.
But,
now,
Paul's our keynote.
How did you choose Paul to be a keynote?
Like I said, we've been trying to get him out here since 2018.
And
I said, listen, man, nailed you down. You're doing it this weekend? Come on out.
Okay.
I love his message. His message is great. I've heard him speak a couple of times. Heard him speak at FDIC. I've heard him speak at a couple of regional conferences. And he has the message that people need to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a friend. And we like to bring our friends out because we like to hang out with our friends.
Sure.
It's that simple.
I love it. Now, you also have Clyde Gordon coming this year.
Yep. We had the pleasure of meeting Clyde last year in Baton Rouge at convention. And I don't know, we had rented a minivan to get from New Orleans to Baton Rouge. And he needed a ride somewhere and he piled in with us. And all of us at the same time, just after listening to him speak at convention and hanging out with him for a couple of days, we're like, bro, what are you doing next March? Because we need you out here. Yeah, absolutely. I'm in. Very good. So
that says something to get somebody from the South to come up to New England in March.
Oh, trust me, the Floridians cry about it, but
I bet
it's all right. It's
so that's
funny.
Cool. So you were riding with Clyde.
Yeah, he was riding with us actually. So.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah,
But
so that's
he's a great guy, super guy.
very, very, very nice man. I enjoy his company very much. I enjoy listening to him speak. I've got to listen to him speak many, many times. This will be the first time actually getting to hear Paul Combs speak. I'm looking forward to that. And I purchased his artwork. I love his message. I love what he has to say, and everything is so positive, and that's the way he delivers his positive message is always, it hits home for everybody.
And it's a shining light sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody can be as positive as Paul's pretty good at it.
He definitely is. And so you got Paul, you've got Clyde, you have
you're gonna
Aaron
make me
Heller.
remember. Yep. Hang on, let me I'll do it on my phone so I'm not shutting it down.
I know I'm rattling off the top of my head, so I'm trying to remember myself.
You'd think I'd know, but
and now I know the hotel is booked.
The hotel is completely booked. So the Village by the Sea is booked. However, the Elmwood Resort, which is right next door, which is literally, no shit, a step through the bushes to the event space. It's actually probably closer, less of a walk to stay at the Elmwood than it is on the property at the Village by the Sea. But last I knew, the Elmwood is not full yet.
Okay.
And they are honoring the same deal that the Village by the Sea was giving us, which was the first night is full price, second night was half off.
Yeah.
So
that was great. They were very friendly and very helpful. Elmwood, when I called up to reserve my room, they were very friendly and very helpful for anybody who's going to hear this. Hopefully not too late when I get this out, but definitely call them up. They have rooms available, and the customer service just on the phone. As soon as you said, I'm going to be doing the New England Full Summit, however you want to word it, they know exactly what you're talking about. Even if you just say the firefighter thing, they know what you're talking about.
I'm with the firemen. That's really all you need to say.
That's what it is.
And one thing real quick for Village by the Sea, the Wells Fire Local is raffling off a suite for the weekend. So I think for $10 or $20, you could stay the weekend. I think it's on all their social media. So
that's great.
That's definitely, I don't know when they're drawing it, but it's definitely something to look into. All right. So the lineup, Friday, Vicky Schmidt. Vicky is a Western Maine firefighter who does large animal rescue. She works with horses in her personal life, but also does large animal rescue, teaches large animal rescue, which, if you look around, it's happening for some reason a lot more. Maybe it's just getting the publication that it's happening a lot more.
Sure.
So I thought it was something interesting to bring in that's not always talked about.
Mm-hmm.
So she's speaking on Friday during the day. Chris Gray, who's one of our instructors, Chris has spoken for us a bunch of time. Chris has a great lithium-ion battery class that he's doing for us. Chris is a battalion chief in Central Falls, Rhode Island. Super guy, fantastic instructor. Can't wait to hear what he has to say. Russ Osgood, who should be a name that anybody in New Hampshire and Maine knows. Chief Osgood, he did a career in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. He went up to Ogunquit. He's the chief of department in Ogunquit right now. Russ is a champion of cancer in the fire service, and one of the nicest guys you ever want to meet. Has a pretty good mustache too, I must admit. And his brother both. But Russ is talking on he's actually doing his cancer presentation that he does at FDIC. He's going to do that for us. 2, 3. And Tom Zuppa from Guilfoyle Public Relations. John Guilfoyle Public Relations does our website, web hosting for us. Fantastic organization. Tom did it for us last year as part of the leadership thing. But I think it's important for everybody to hear the importance of a public information officer and how important the right person talking to the media is, as opposed to just anybody talking to the media. So Tom's going to be one of our Friday afternoon speakers as well.
That's great.
Excuse me, Paul Friday night. Then the tactical track on Saturday is Joe Manahan talking about rapid intervention and Mayday, not rapid intervention. Eric Hankins from California. Eric is going to talk about engine stuff. A.B. Turen from Connecticut. They had an incident in his first due with, and again, it's something a little different, protesters chaining themselves, the dragon, I forget what they actually call it. So how to defeat those devices. A little different, but definitely something that's timely, unfortunately. And Matty Johnson from Florida. Matty's a South Florida fireman who has quite a story to tell. He's going to come in and talk about mental health.
I met Matty a bunch of times. He is solid as they come. Dude, he loves New England. I met him down in Texas, and I thought,
not to love?
Right? when I met him, I saw him. He's wearing a scally cap, and he's listening to the same music I am, and we were talking for hours about the whole culture and what we do up here, and he's definitely a humble guy. I'm excited to listen to him actually speak about his story as well.
He's super person. I can't wait. So in the leadership track, if you're so inclined, Aaron Heller, Chief Heller, is going to talk about command at commercial firegrounds command stuff. Kim McCulloch, her husband Nick, is a lieutenant in Manchester. Kim has developed a great program about retention and recruitment in the fire service. So she's going to talk about that. Tony Gillen from Central Florida. Tony's going to talk about leadership, and I'm going to butcher his name, and I'm going to try not to. Anthony Pascacello.
I think you did pretty good with that.
I think that's how I read it anyway, but I'm Irish. He's Italian. FDNY Battalion Chief. This presentation came highly recommended to me. So I reached out to him, and he's coming up commanding complex incidents.
Oh, great.
So for those are the four in the leadership track. Saturday night we have Clyde, who's telling, I believe Danny's story is what he said he's telling. Just some stories out of his career.
I heard him tell that story in Arkansas. It's moving. It's very, very touching. So I think that's going to be a great speech by him, and I think it's going to touch a lot of people as well.
And Sunday, like I said, we have Bart Simpson and Walt Lewis on the history of the Fools, and John Cagno out of Rhode Island. He called me the other day. Actually, I have to get back to him. He's changing his topic. He was going to talk about building construction, but we're going to change it up a little bit. But it'll be he's a gentleman in the fire service, a giant in the fire service out of Rhode Island. So he's going to be great to hear speak on Sunday as well.
That's fantastic.
And we'll be done by noontime, 12:30, and everybody can go on home.
So that's fantastic. That's such a great lineup. Now, you also have vendors, correct?
Yep.
And so who are some of the vendors you're going to have there?
John Gray from Portsmouth, 190 Leatherworks is going to be there. Jay Marcella from Manchester, Rekindled Lids, he's going to be there. First In Graphics out of Massachusetts, Sean Hogan, they're going to be there with the stickers. Allegiance, the Pierce dealership, they're going to be there with us. Northeast Fire Apparatus out of Maine, I believe they're the Ferrari dealer as well as the equipment dealer in Maine. They're there with us. Firefighter Cancer Support Network, Fallen Firefighters, National Fallen Firefighters Foundation will be there as well. One of the support dog groups that does first responder support dogs will be there with us. The Trooper Black Foundation out of Maine will be there with us. We like to open up space for the smaller nonprofit groups that might not necessarily be able to get a voice out there at things. So
sure, they'll
all be there. Bergeron Protective has provided us with they won't be there as a vendor, but they sign on as a sponsor, send us some stuff to raffle off. We always have a giant raffle every year. Who else is going to be there as a vendor? Again, you put me on the spot.
Sorry.
They're on the website if you want to check it out.
Yeah, no, definitely. No, it's good you said there is a website for everybody to look at. It's on social media. It's on Facebook. Just click on the link. You're going to see all the vendors and guest lists and who's going to be speaking at this event. I just want to make sure that people heard it straight from your mouth.
Yeah, everybody's bio is up. Everybody's class description is up as well.
That's great. So it's going to be a great time. This will be the first time I actually ever attending the event. I really appreciate you inviting me to be up there. I'm looking forward to recording. I'm looking forward to hearing some stories and meeting some new people that I have never met before. And like you said, it's just great for brotherhood, sisterhood, networking. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. And we try to we're here for the members of our chapter. We've had so many of the members of the chapter that want to be, that are trying to break into the teaching world, whether it be lecturing or instructing, hands-on. We've given them a shot, and they're doing wonderful at it. And we're trying to do that through this as well. That was why I reached out to you, was just give you the opportunity. Why not? You're a chapter member, been a member for a little while. Come up, do what you do around all these guys that are going to be there. You're going to be around some of the best in the fire service. They're going to be right in your backyard. Why not be there?
Sure. I think it's great. So. That's the way to do it. It's a way to give back. As Don Sapp said, plant the seed. And that's what's happening. We're going to be planting a lot of seeds up at Wells, Maine in March, and that's going to spark a lot of future and young generations of firefighters to bring it back to their departments and hopefully be, like you said, rejuvenated and alive and want to bring back all that knowledge they just learned. And I love it when people bring back, especially like I love doing hands-on training, but like the people you have lined up, the lectures are going to be top notch. And that's going to be a lot of great information for them to bring back to their departments and talk about. It's going to be great, good conversation starters and just talking around the coffee table about what tactics they just learned in those presentations. Those are going to be some really good table talk discussions to bring back. I'm so excited to see people really take that and absorb it.
And you say about the younger guys, and it's funny. We still have guys that are retired that attend, that are in the chapter. They've been in the chapter for a while. They still show up. They still sit through the lectures. They still participate in everything. And it's fantastic to see not only that, but the guys that are coming in, the old heads that are bringing in the young guys with them. Hey, this is just Joe. He's my probie. We made him come. And he's like, you made me come along. By the end of the weekend, they're like, I'm so glad I came. It's fulfilling to see. And those are the guys that, a week and a half later, you get their application in the mail. So
yeah,
it's great.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. And I love that, you made it clear too, that if you're not a Fools member, you can still come to these events. It's just the Fools member get a discounted rate, correct?
100%. Yeah. I think it's a $25 savings in this particular event. It's a $25 savings membership over non-member, which now, again, over the years, if you come to a couple of things, but
yeah. So now with Fools memberships as well, I know like some have benefits of like insurance benefits. Does the New England Fools offer the insurance benefets? I know the answer. I'm just asking.
Yep. Something from the International. So it's a $4,000 accidental death and dismemberment card that you get. It's a little card. You get it from the credit union. You get it from a couple of other things. If you're into the, depends on where you're involved. But yeah, it's a $4,000 accidental death and disability benefit that comes from the International. It comes from being a Fools member. We're very lucky in New England that for the most part, our municipalities take care of us between insurance and stuff like that. Not everywhere in the country is like that. So that's where this all came from, of the Fools being the one to offer this benefit.
That's great. I love that that's offered to people if they want it. Just
It's
again,
automatic.
It's so cool that happens. It's just giving back to members and let them know that, people do care and they want to see the best of making sure that they are protected and covered. I mean, that's what caring about our members. So now you mentioned it before, the credo or the mantra of the Fools, protect the brothers, do the right thing. I'm going to touch on this subject. There's been a lot of talk about it, right? Well, the FTM part. So let's talk about it because it's kind of a hot button, right? So forget the
It's a hot button. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I just talked over you. Say it again.
Oh, you're fine. Yeah. So it's some people, they love to say F the mutts or forget the mutts.
You're right the first time.
So what's your take on that? What is the take on for people in that point of view?
So I have been a Fools member long enough that when I started, it was F the mutts, protect the brothers. That's what the FTM PTB is. Oftentimes you'll hear me say FTM, the original version. When the Fools went kind of mainstream a few years ago and kind of gentrified, they realized that, maybe the F word shouldn't be the first thing that's out there. So it became For the Men, which is still just as important. It's just a different spin on it. It's like, if you attend the summit, you may be getting a gift from us for attending that has the original on it.
So that's good. Yeah. And I'm still from the old school part of it of fuck the mutts, and that's for me. So I just,
I understand the gentrification of it as well.
Yeah.
The need for it. Because, polite, for the most part, in polite society, you can't be dropping F-bombs.
Sure.
Even though I do on a regular basis, inadvertently, you shouldn't be doing it. It does. Falls right out. But yeah. So yeah,
that's good.
FTMP, remember fallen brothers, keep the faith. Everybody goes home. The Fools were saying everybody goes home 10 years before some of the mainstream organizations got a hold of that and co-opted it, because not everybody can go home every time.
Yeah.
It's just it's a fact of the matter. It's a fact of the business. Binghamton, New York last night had a brother killed in a fire downtown.
Yes, sir.
Not everybody goes home. Sometimes it just happens.
Yeah.
And no matter how good you are, it still can happen to you. And that's something that we as Fools members are acutely aware of. And that's why we train as hard as we do. Because, you can't train hard enough for a job that could kill you. It's going to kill you anyway.
Yeah.
If your number's up, and your number is up. And that's what the everybody goes home is we want to see everybody go home, but we're not going to safety sally you to death so that everybody goes home. Because really, everybody goes home but the homeowner when it gets right down to it.
Yeah, that's a good point. No, you're absolutely right on that.
Yeah. I mean, you wear your highly reflective vest over your highly reflective turnout gear, and
The car's still not going to, your vest is not going to stop a car.
No. When you're my size, I set airbags off. That's why people don't hit me. It got nothing to do with the vest. But, and there's just so many things. We go down that rabbit hole. Ray said it the best, I don't know, in 2009 at his FDIC speech. And if anybody's never seen that, Google Ray McCormick FDIC and grab some popcorn. That's a good ride.
That's a great speech that he gives. Absolutely fantastic.
Ray was right with that. I mean, there's some elements of the fire service for some reason now are out there today that are all against safety and all against this and all against that. Rah, rah, rah. And that's ridiculous. It's foolishness. You're inventing problems so that you're becoming the solution to them. This is not a safe job. The tag on the inside of my helmet says it best. Firefighting is inherently dangerous. And there's more to it than that, and I forget exactly what it is. But there's a tag, a sticker, right on the back of your helmet. Mm-hmm. Like the old baseball, if you're old enough to remember the fake plastic baseball batting helmets you used to get,
Absolutely.
This is not protective equipment. That's pretty much what your fire helmet's telling you too.
Our gear tells us that. You look in the warning label of our structure gear, it says the same thing.
Yeah. Keep you safe right up until it doesn't. But safety is what you make it. You be your own safety officer. And the best way to be safe is to go out there and educate yourself. You can teach me how to jump out the window 10 times. Well, why don't you teach me how to put the fire out so I don't have to jump out the window? That's an Andy Fredericks. If you put the fire out, you don't have to jump out the window.
Yes, sir.
And I agree with that 100%. If I'm aware of how the fire is progressing, where it's going, everything else, I can not put myself in a position to have to jump out the window. But again, back to that everybody goes home. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do, and you might have to jump out the window. My son is in there. You got to go find him or give it your damn to try and get him.
Absolutely.
And,
we could teach anybody to open up the bail of the nozzle, but we got to be able to teach them how and where to put the water to put the fire out, right? Anybody can make that motion.
Yeah, exactly. And know the conditions. Be smart. Don't just be, I guess, be a cookbook firefighter, like a cookbook medic. Know why you're doing what you're doing or not doing what you're doing, Why aren't you venting on the windward side? Why aren't you opening the nozzle? Why aren't you breaking the window until you hear water in that room? You're coordinating things. Yeah. But if you don't know, you don't know. And you need to go out. If all the training you do is in your department, it said, if all the training you do is in-house, then you have inbred training.
Yes, sir.
And it makes perfect sense when you think about it that way.
You got to get out, like I say all the time. You got to get out your own zip code.
Yep, absolutely.
Now, is that some of your concerns that you have within the fire service? What is some of your concerns or what keeps you up at night reference to changes or how things are going in the fire service?
Like I said, there's this, you and I have had this conversation prior. There's this counterculture movement that's out there that are, in my opinion, in the opinion of a lot of guys that I spend a lot of time with, they're creating a problem to be the solution to. And what concerns me is 8 or 10 years ago, safety sallies were an issue. When Ray made that speech, or shortly after Ray made that speech, we had a large a large portion of fire service leadership throughout the United States that were so risk averse that it was not letting us do our job.
Mm-hmm.
It has been my observation through training, through getting out there, through being around, that pendulum has swung completely the other way quite a bit. And like I said, those probably last 8 years or so. But, so people that are out there saying, and they're doing it well, they're saying it very convincingly. It's super cool to look at. It's super cool to listen to. And it's, they're way better at the internet than old bucks like myself. So it's being consumed at a large rate by some of the younger guys that are just scrolling through their phones while they're sitting there having I won't even say a cup of coffee because they're probably having a Monster or a Red Bull or whatever at the kitchen table. It's not like that. I don't think it's like that. There was a portion of time, but it's that risk-averse culture, and culture is not even the right word, but that risk-averse thinking has kind of gone away, or it seems to have gone away. Or maybe I'm just hoping it goes away and I'm not paying attention to the ones that are still doing it. But it has been my observation that has gone away. 8 to 10 years ago, it was definitely an issue.
I think it's definitely going away. I do think, like you said, social media, it plays both parts, right? It's good and evil. And I think social media has had a positive effect as much as a negative effect. I think social media has definitely done a great job with letting people know, because again, education is in the palm of their hand. It's right there. You can see. So like you just said, like if they didn't know who Manahan is, right? Like they can literally just like look it up in the phone and go see who's Joe's parents are. But if they're confused about what VEIS is, or they don't know what thermal rebound is, like they can look it up in their hands, and more likely they're going to see Andrew Starnes with thermal rebound because that's what he does, right? And I think also the safety culture is kind of going away because they're seeing that information. It's out there. Like there's the whys are there. It's now a visual thing, and they don't have to open up the book as much. But that other culture that's out there is also playing a negative effect, where you need to still know the whys, and we need to know why we're going to a room that's fully involved, or not to go that's fully involved without fear of retaliation or bullying because of whatever decision was made.
But not only that, you need to vet your instructors. And listen, any asshole that's creative can make a great Instagram page.
Mm-hmm.
And you see a lot of that out there too. Guilty. And I'm not creative. I'm just an asshole. But you get some of these guys that the content that they put out is just that. It's just content. That's all it is. There's no, you'd starve to death if you had to it's consumed at great levels and great amounts by a great amount of people, because maybe they don't know any better, but they haven't vetted this as anything but, holy shit, that's super cool. I'm going to continue to look through this. It's got to be right. It's got to be right. It's got to be right. And that goes with anything, not just definitely social media. Vet your instructors, vet who you're listening to, vet the articles. I mean, it used to be if you published an article in Firehouse or Fire Engineering, that was a big deal. It's still not a big deal, but it's with the websites, there's more proliferation of people being able to publish stuff. Mm-hmm. And now with the social media stuff, shit, you don't even need Firehouse or Fire Engineering to do it. You can publish it yourself.
Yep.
And everybody reads it. And that's not necessarily a good thing if you're putting out just content for the sake of putting out content for people to consume.
I do like the fact when people do post links about what information they're posting out. So that way you have a 20-second clip of a badass video of guys going in and getting it, but then they post a link of that event, especially the younger generation, when they're looking at it, can understand like this is why they're doing it this way, or this is why they're running into the building this way, or there's a story behind it, and so there's a link that goes with it, so they can actually click on that and the reading material.
It's more than that. It's more than that 3-second wow.
Exactly.
Clip.
So there's people that are posting that information, but they're posting that link to go with it, so that way they can go, wow, that was really cool. I want to know more about why this is going on this way. And they can click on that hybrid link that's on there, and then it opens up that story to them, so they can now actually read it and understand, or at least get a full video, because those stories are only 20 seconds and it tells you, here, click on this. You can get the more of the reel. So it's there. I like the fact it's just grabbing their attention. And then that way they can, if they want more of it, they can look at that link and at least get that information, as opposed to just sending a video of nothing and it looks really cool, but they don't know why that video is what's going on in that picture.
But a lot of the times, some of the problem with some of it is, as they're scrolling, they see that cool video and go on to the next cool video, or go on to the next, Barstool story, or, whatever else, and so they may skip that explanation and just get that not great content that comes along with with the cool part.
So I love that topic. I think that's really great. What else do you have going on in your neck of the woods? What else is on your radar? When you're done with the Northeastern Fire Summit, what else do you got going on?
So for us, we have 3 things scheduled right now. We have the Northeastern Fire Summit in March. We have our annual photo night, April 5th, at the Black Swan Country Club in Georgetown, Mass. Basically, it's an evening of beers and fire porn. You got a handful of photographers to show their stuff, and it's a great night to come and hang out, have some appetizers, have some beers, sit there and watch. I think we have 4 guys lined up to do 20-minute, half-hour presentations of stuff from all around the region. So that's always a good time. We've been doing that. We've been doing it since 2005, so this will be the 20th year that we've done it. We haven't necessarily done it every year since then, but we've pretty regularly done it. That's set up, and then the Thursday, the 24th of April, we have a mental health day scheduled in West Newbury, Mass, at Pentucket Regional High School. We have 3 speakers coming in. We have Steve Holmes from Exeter, who spoke for us last year at the summit. Fantastic stories. Marine vet. He's a local fireman. Fantastic story to tell. Sue Brown from Forge VFR there in Manchester. Sue spoke for us a couple years ago. She's a clinician. She's great. And we have Jeff Dill from the Firefighter Behavioral Health Alliance coming out. Jeff's a friend. Jeff came out 2018, I think, was the last time he was out and spoke for us. Maybe 19. But those 3 are set up to speak in April. Mental Health Day, I think it's a $35 day. An hour's drive from anywhere in New England. Right in West Newbury, right at the high school. So those are the 3 things we have set up right now. Nailing down a date with Connecticut to go back to the Eastern Connecticut Fire School to make up what we weren't able to do last fall. Like I said, we have a couple of houses we're going to be doing some live fire stuff up in Williston, Vermont. Just outside of Burlington, if you know the area. York County Chiefs, I hope we're going to be invited back again this year in southern Maine. That's always a good time. We've been selling our classes out there for years. Like we've consistently had to put a waiting list together for what we've done there. And just some other stuff that we have in the works that we're not really ready to announce yet. But
sure,
it'll be a full year of, as it always is, a full year of stuff from us.
That's fantastic. I'm looking forward to seeing all that come up in the year and see how everyone takes it and all the education you got out there, man. It's going to be exciting. Before we wind up too, I'd love to always talk about it because he was such a major influence to me. I'd like to talk about Clarky a little bit. Was he one of the original members or did he join a little bit after?
He came in a little bit after. Obviously, he was known to everybody. And if you don't know who Mike's talking about, he's talking about Mike Clark, passed away in November of 2023. Mike was a 50-plus year veteran of the fire service, started on Long Island, did a career in Hanover, New Hampshire, basically built a New Hampshire Fire Academy. He and Dick Ayers and a couple of other guys. Not Dick Ayers. Shit. Wrong guy. Maybe. I don't know. He had a handful. There were a handful of them that made the New Hampshire Fire Academy what it is today. He taught for the Vermont Fire Academy. He taught around the country. He taught around the world. Michael was a wonderful, wonderful man, a family man, a good friend, and frankly, one of the finest human beings I've ever had the pleasure of meeting. And that's the only way to describe him.
Yes, sir.
He's not somebody to emulate, but he was somebody to keep up with. We were teaching in Vermont one time. I was at the front of the Eagles Hall lecturing. We had, 80 people in the room, and he showed up because he was speaking later in the day. He showed up a little late, and he does a ta-da, and then proceeds to cartwheels down the, center aisle of the hall at 60 some odd years old doing cartwheels. He was something else. When did he come into the organization? He came in probably, I think the first time he taught for us was 2007.
Okay.
I hit Mike Clark from Bath before I met Mike Clark from New Hampshire. And they were together. They were on the FEMA USAR team, the Mass Task Force together. So they were old Clark and little Clark. That's how, to this day, that's how I knew them both. But old Clark was a little taller and a little more Irish than little Clark. That's how he always put it anyway. And he first taught for us. We had We had a 100-plus room, 3-story atrium hotel in Brunswick, Maine that we did a hands-on in the middle of February. We were throwing, early February, this time of year. Actually, it was like this time of year. We were throwing 35s in shirt sleeves to the 3rd floor of the atrium, flowing with 2.5. It was one for the ages. We talk about it all the time because that particular venue, if we had that venue with the connections we have today, it was great then, but it would be spectacular today. But that was the first time he taught for us, and we became fast friends and traveled a lot together. Every time we traveled together, we tell people, "Oh, you guys going to the mustache convention?" Yes. We were going out to Berks County, Pennsylvania one time to teach, and Dave Gallagher's wife was an art teacher. She's an artist, and she made these T-shirts, tie-dye T-shirts for us all. Around 5, 6 of us in the van that were going out together, and Susie made these T-shirts up for us. And if you ever, when you're done, Google the model tobacco. The model tobacco guy, model, I don't know, spelled model. Tobacco guy was Clarky. But it's from like the 19-teens. But big schnoz, big mustache with a cigar. Sue put that on the front of the T-shirt. Of course, Clarky got a shirt. So Dave and I are inside paying for gas, and I think, Pennsylvania, New York, I don't know where we were. And this woman goes, "My God, there's a guy out there on the phone that looks just like the guy in your T-shirt." Like, yeah, we know he's with us. We know that. And he was just a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful guy. He meant so much to us and the organization that his loss is immeasurable. Like,
Yes.
it really is. And, we were blessed to have him. It's funny, we made stickers up. I don't know if you've seen the Monopoly mic, the running mic. We did that long before he passed away. We did that just to give him a hard time. That's why we got that logo from Hoseka, Delaware. It's one of their company logos. So I emailed the kid. I'm like, "Dude, I got to borrow your logo. You got to send me that." I said, "Why?" I sent him a picture of Clarky. He sent me back to Vector File. He goes, "It's all yours." He said, you can't use that. So we had the stickers made up. We had T-shirts made up. And anytime we had something with that logo made up, I didn't send them to him first. I sent them to his wife first.
Oh, nice.
He says, "These are for you." So the first time I sent stickers, he calls me. And I knew the phone call was coming. It was inevitable. Calls, "I hate you. You're fired. I need more." All right. Great kids loved them. "I need more stickers." All right. I'll send you more. And we did that. And we had I don't know if you've seen the pictures of the flag with the Monopoly mic on it.
Mm-hmm.
And we were able to, the last time he taught with us, we were able to fly that flag over the training ground. And Mike, if you ever did a class with Mike did the Pledge of Allegiance, because Mike did the Pledge of Allegiance. And so as he Pledge of Allegiance, moment of silence, we dropped the American flag and we flew the Mike flag. And we got him to turn around and look at it, and the wind died. Well, Steve Barton grabbed our leaf blower. And Stevie's hanging out of the back of the trailer with the leaf blower, blowing it, so the flag was pinned right out straight, so Mike could see his likeness on the flag flying over the training ground that he was on, it was pretty. It ended up being the last time he taught with us, which is sad, but it was awesome that we were able to do that.
That's great.
To him, not for him, but to him.
To him, yeah. That is fantastic. Yeah, he had a great sense of humor. He was one of the people that had motivated me and inspired me to do what I do, to be an instructor. When I was learning from him at the New Hampshire Fire Academy, I wanted to be just like him. I wanted to be doing cartwheels and push-ups and smoking cigars on the drill yard and have that respect that people gave him. He didn't demand respect. He
commanded it. He commanded it. You took one look at him and you knew you needed to respect him.
I do miss him. He was a huge inspiration for a lot of people. He was a great motivator. He was definitely a person who, like I said, he had respect on the drill yard without having to tell anybody he needed respect. It was just there. He exuded it, and his wealth of knowledge and his energy levels was crazy. I really do. I wish I had his energy at his age, because it was nonstop. That guy never stopped, man. Like you said, you got a 60-something-year-old man on the drill yard doing cartwheels, push-ups, and and
One-handed
outperforming.
push-up. Don't just say push-ups. He did it with one hand.
Yeah,
He
would sit in those burn simulators all day. I'd look at his back of his neck and his ears, and it was crazy.
Yep. Yeah, he was something.
But I wanted to make sure we touched on Clarky because he affected so many people. Get a kiss on the dome, especially if you're follically challenged like I am. You get a good big old kiss on the forehead.
Absolutely.
You make sure you take that, because that was one of the biggest things I remember. Was I'd go home and tell my wife, I'm like, man, this awesome old man with a beautiful mustache, it kissed me on the dome a bunch of times. Just made you want to perform.
Maybe the second time. The first time was a little weird, but
I take it. I take it as much as I can get. But good man. So
we just updated the website. We did a memorial page to him.
Oh, excellent.
On the web, that's up on the website. So
fantastic. I love it. Well, Rusty, thank you so much for joining me on the C.A.N. Report today. I appreciate your time. I know it's kind of late where we are, but I wanted to make sure we get it out, and I want to make sure that people know about the Northeastern Fire Summit and the New England Fools.
Absolutely.
And whoever's listening anywhere, if you're curious about the Fools, you just Google wherever you live in, you reach out to members in your fire department. If your fire department doesn't have one, you can go to the International Fools page, and they'll point you in the right direction. You can reach out to me, or you can reach out to Rusty Ricker. He'll help you, point you in the right direction of getting either a charter started if you don't have one in your area, but definitely reach out to the International for those kind of questions. They also have a map of charters for the area that you're living in, so they can help guide you in the right direction, and they can get that going for you. And again, the Northeastern Fire Summit is happening in Wells, Maine, March 15th. And it's got, as Rusty said, the guest list is incredible, and you definitely don't want to miss it. So get your tickets before it sells out. Rusty, thank you so much for being my guest today.
No.
It's been an absolute pleasure. And all of you have a safe day, and Nozzle Tov, everybody.